morning. I'd like to welcome all of you to NASA Ames. We're one of 10 NASA centers, but since we're in Northern California and Silicon Valley, we're clearly the best one. Our mission at NASA Ames is to invent technology and systems that can be applied to solve the greatest challenges on planet Earth. Sort of a real symbol of this mission is what we call sustainability base. As you drove in the main gate, you saw a building to the left. That's the greenest building in the U.S. government. We just finished it about a year ago. It's a LEED Platinum building that integrates NASA technology and shows how a building can make more electricity than it uses, and it uses 90% less water than a conventional building, while creating a better, more productive work environment that fosters collaboration and innovation, as we just discussed here. Now, we are really proud here at NASA to collaborate with Sustainable Silicon Valley through a Space Act agreement to bring our systems engineering, technology, and large-scale solutions capability and the ingenuity of Silicon Valley together to address the global challenges facing humanity, which this panel has described so well. Now, through the Planetary Solutions Collaboratory, NASA, Sustainable Silicon Valley, and other partners, we'll bridge the gap, we hope, between science, technology, policy, business, finance, and implementation, finding and developing solutions that are scalable and game-changing. You'll be seeing some of those solutions today at this showcase. Now, I'd like to take just a few minutes to note some of our distinguished visitors here today before I introduce the governor. Vinnie Bacon, a council member from the city of Fremont. Please hold applause until I finish with all of these. Julie Benavente, the energy officer for the city of San Jose. Barry Chang, the city council member from the city of Cupertino. Dustin Clark, sustainability coordinator from the city of Sunnyvale. Stephen Crawford, the director of the United States Commercial Service. Elizabeth Flegel, the water conservation coordinator for the city of Mountain View. Dan Jarday, a supervisor from Mendocino County. Mike Kaperzak, a council member from the city of Mountain View. James Keene, city manager from the city of Palo Alto. Christina Loquist, a policy aide for the Office of the Santa Clara Supervisor. Joe Simitin. Dave Turner, the mayor of the city of Fort Bragg. So I'd like to give a round of applause for our city's visitors. Now, we are really thrilled to have Governor Brown here today. We value the long-standing partnership between NASA and the state of California with our research centers here and in Southern California. And particularly, we value the state's commitment to leading-edge research through its fine universities and laboratories. Not that I need to review this, but Governor Brown served 2 terms of governor from 1974 to 1982. He served as mayor of Oakland, California Attorney General, and is now serving his 3rd term as governor of California. He is an advocate for education, jobs, fiscal responsibility, and the environment, and he believes in science informing public policy. It is my very great honor to introduce the governor of the great state of California, Jerry Brown, to accept a presentation by UC Berkeley professor Anthony Barnofsky.
Thank you. The reason I came here today is obvious. What we're hearing is that we got a big challenge. Got a big challenge to get the problem right, challenge to get the solutions right, get the scale right, get the speed right. It's daunting. And when you look at it all at once and you kind of add all this stuff up, it could be overpowering. But we do have the example of California, which is out in front in terms of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and maybe even more impressively in our own business world here in Silicon Valley, the invention of new businesses, new technologies, so many different ways that human beings do things with materials. And so that, to me, gives a lot of hope that we can make a lot of changes. But you can't make the change unless you have some sense of where you're going. And if you take a look at Google and you type in global warming news, I venture to say on most days in the news, 20 to 30%, if not more, of the news will be by climate deniers or skeptics, whatever you want to call them. Everything these guys are saying either is not true, not relevant, or totally distorted. Or it's not important. I mean, compared to getting the 50th Super Bowl, this stuff is silly. It's just a bunch of scientists talking. What really counts is the stuff you're going to read in the front page tomorrow. You're not going to hear about this. It's not allowed because this is not news. News is something else. This may be true, it may be fundamentally important, but it's not news, and therefore it cannot be printed in the American press. So it's going to take some other means of communication. It'll take individuals that have some ability to join with other individuals, linking with associations, unions, universities, research departments, companies. And it will take some critical mass to first communicate the point and then create the conditions by which we can begin to make change. I was listening to Mr. Banerjee over there. At his level of abstraction, everything's easy. But if you come down to my level, I have to work in Sacramento. We have bills, we have budgets, we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have journalists. And out of that mix, we create what you get. And it's not what they're getting or what they'd like to get. So there is a disjunction. And until we can find ways of grappling with it, and you all gave your own pathetic answers to that, I say pathetic compared to the challenge. And I don't want anyone to get too comfortable. I know you're not, Jim, you're not comfortable. But it is comforting. It's warm in here. I asked somebody, can I get a cup of coffee? And all of a sudden a cup of coffee showed up. That's comforting. That's not those little ziggy-zaggy things that I was looking. How many did you say? There's 23 of those ziggy-zaggy lines now, not one? 24. Well, I read on that in the news and the internet that's all these scientists who want to get money from foundations and distorting this and distorting that. I mean, we're really in a war here, a contest for ideas. And this crowd here is representing the losing end right now because it's not happening. They'll pick the paper up when they talk about oil. They don't talk about the stuff you heard today. You talk about fracking, you talk about housing development, or you talk about the Super Bowl, or talk about anything. It's not linked. If there's one message here, is that we're part of a system, and there are all these different elements, and they all feed into a conclusion. And the conclusion we get is those curves, that 400 parts per million, and then 402 parts, and then on and on and on. There it goes. So that is my challenge. The reason why I came here today is I want to, first of all, I always like to hear from people who are saying what I believe. So, and they kind of reaffirm the lonely position of standing in the face of total and complete denial. And I think I would put it at that level because even though there's some talk, it's relatively minor. When the 400 parts per million report came out, it did make the top of the fold, right-hand side, New York Times. Where was it everywhere else? Mostly buried somewhere, and if it was there, it wasn't there on a second day. But you can find literally dozens of utterly trivial stories that will have 2 and 3 and 4 day follow-ups as minute shifts in the trivial story unfolds. So here we are with a big story, and the challenge is we have to be able to understand the ideas and bring people together. You're right, talking to the converted doesn't do you very good. A lot of politicians don't get that. In fact, I didn't fully understand it as I understand it today. And that is, your base is important, but you got to convince the swing voter to win. The base vote for a Democrat is maybe 42%. For a Republican, it's a little lower than that. But that's not 50%. You have to reach people who are skeptical, disinterested, and maybe even somewhat hostile. That's where we are. And, who's even talking about? So I think the first thing is what I'm doing is talking about the problem at the level of seriousness that problem warrants. And that's already a revolution in terms of the political discourse. So Congress will respond, but the powers that constitute our system of power have to be engaged. And yes, the oil industry is part of that, but so are the companies in Silicon Valley. And in many respects, they're taking a lead. So that's the hope, that the people with the power, the money, the brains, and the education are able to sense the seriousness of the moment, the shortness of time, and then slowly but surely get on board and do what it takes. And you have to convince oil company CEOs. They have to be part of the conversation. They have to be part of the dialogue. Business manufacturers, all sorts of people that we have to. The trouble is thinking far out, long range. That's difficult. It's very difficult to see this stuff, and it's very immediate. And our what is it? Fright and flight. We're pretty good at ducking. Somebody tries to, throw something at us. But what's coming at us is what we ourselves are creating with our own imaginary. That's one of these words that the postmodernists like. Imaginary. It's a noun, by the way, in the way it's used. So, but it connotes that there are these ideas and stories and dramas that we're creating, and right in the middle of it. And what we're creating is it's okay. How do we know it's okay? Because the sun came up, got oil for the car, the food's in the supermarket. It's all working till it isn't. And we have enough history in recent time that stuff happens that we don't expect. I mean, the people who, just take one that's pretty powerful, World War I. Most of the people, the English and the French and the Germans, they all marched off and they had bands playing. They thought it was going to be a few months, it was going to be great. Well, just look what happened. Habsburg Empire collapsed. The Prussia as a country went out of existence. The Tsars collapsed. Complete disruption that continues right on through World War II. So there it is. But they all agreed, by the way, because we keep saying we got to get some like-minded people. Hey, they were all Catholics or Orthodox or something. They were all kind of agreed, but that didn't stop them from totally screwing everything up. So here we are with all our diversity, our difference, our ideology, our wealth and not wealth and all the rest of it. So we got to pull together. So part of it are these scientists, part of it are politicians, part of it are people you take the time. This is an important challenge, cause, undertaking. We're here. We're going to take whatever steps we need, but we can do it, but we got to do a lot more than what we're doing now. And if it's just about like this, say 5 years from now, it's over. So look for the signs, and while you're looking for them, become a change agent yourself. I intend to do that as your governor of California. We are in the forefront. There is no political jurisdiction doing more about climate change than the state of California. And we're going to continue to do that, and to the extent possible, we're going to engage others in other states, including Washington, and whoever else we can find. I went to China, I gave a speech at the university there on climate change. We're going to, and slowly but surely, it'll be a few meetings like this, but it will grow. Because it will grow because we have no choice. And we're not that stupid that we can't figure it out. So thank you very much for being here. It's really important. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, as you know from, I hope you know, that from Dr. Varnosky's talk and the governor's talk, that a group of scientists has written a document that Dr. Varnosky summarized in his talk about the challenges before us and a call to action. And the governor is here today to join with Dr. Varnosky and his colleagues. So I'd like to call his colleagues up. They'll stand on the stage here. And we need the sign that has black in the back, please, from the screen. And I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Governor Brown,
Yes.
thank you for coming. I'd first like to introduce my colleagues, Elizabeth Hadley, Stephen Palumbi, Paul Ehrlich, Ann Ehrlich, and Rodolfo Dirzo, all of whom have been co-conspirators along with several others in putting together a document that we would like to present to you. And as you know, but probably other people out here don't, you are actually very instrumental in spurring us to do this. The backstory here is about a year ago, a team of us published a paper in Nature that talked about the problems we've been hearing about today. And I was out running one day, and I got a cold call from Governor Brown wanting to know more about that paper. And one of the things that stuck in my mind was his comment, well, if these issues are such a big deal, why aren't scientists all over the world crying out about that? Why aren't they shouting it from the rooftops? And that stimulated us to actually get scientists to shout it from the rooftops. And as a result, we have put together this document designed especially for policymakers and the general public. You have the insert from it in your program. It talks about the 5 major problems that I mentioned earlier. And we would like to both thank Governor Brown for stimulating this and also thank you for joining with us.
Give me a couple of copies.
And give you a couple of copies, yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And one more thing. One more thing. Yeah.
Then I'm going to say one more
Let me just say one more thing. So I wanted to get a picture of this up on the screen. We are also presenting Governor Brown with this original illustration that was done by a member of Liz's lab, which is Earth at the Tipping Point, which very much encapsulates where we are.
We're right there, huh?
We're right there.
Who's that guy?
That's Governor Brown. So
Well,
if you need a visual reminder.
I just want to make a comment. I remember things for whatever reason. I was talking to Ehrlich, Paul that is, decades ago. And he said this. He said he was worried that, not that this was the time of the oil embargo, that we'd have too little oil too late, but that we'd have too much too soon. You remember saying that? Oh, yeah. So there it is. You think about it, will you? And you can get a one-pager here, spread it around. You have to become missionaries. This is not just about science. This is about activism. This is about converting people. This is about sensing where you are and where we are, and together making sure we're in a different and much better place. So thank you very much for putting it together. I'll do my part.
And I will say one more word as well, and that is to point out that this document has been signed on by over 500 scientists in 44 different countries, dozens of members of the National Academies of Sciences across the world in their respective countries, and 2 Nobel laureates. Just this morning at 9 o'clock, it was opened up on the web for download and web sign-on. The information is on the handout you have, and we will widely publicize that. So please encourage everyone to sign up for that if they agree with the issues.
Signers just stand who are in the room, too.
Signers.
Who signed it, who stand in the room.
Has anyone signed
Who are
it
the
already
signers?
in the
You wanna
room?
stand up?
Please stand up.
we
Hayward.
look at you?
Mariana. All right, so
All right, everyone
Yes.
here has to get one
Jim Hansen.
competent signer. That may not be you, but you can probably know somebody.
Okay, thank you.
Well, don't forget, I have one more thing for you. this is a representation of our planet and a few more that you can hand out to people to remind them what we're doing.
Boy, I got
And a
one.
lot of presents. And,
Okay.
and then another, a photo of a beautiful California place to remind us of what we're preserving.
Okay, great.
All right,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
Oh,